Great. Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to this webinar on carp farming systems, technology, and research and development in Bangladesh and Vietnam. The purpose of today is to explore opportunities for future collaboration in carp farming between Vietnam and Bangladesh. So to set the scene for that, we've got two great presenters. We've got Dr. Binh from RIA number 1 in Vietnam. And we've also got Zahangir from Bangladesh. So they're going to each give a presentation, which will be followed by some questions and answers. Before we go any further, if you could just put on the next slide, there's just a couple of housekeeping rules. Thanks very much. If you just have a quick look at this, so just make sure, please, that your cameras and microphones are switched off when you're not presenting. This event is being recorded to share with others who couldn't make it today. And as the talks go forward, please put your questions, comments in the chat box. So that will be great. Okay, so I think without further ado, I'll pass over to Zahangir, who I can see is waiting patiently up there on my screen, to give his presentation on Bangladesh carp farming. So welcome, Zahangir, and if you'd like to share your screen, over to you.
Thank you, Colin. Welcome to everyone in my presentation. Now I am presenting on carp farming systems, technology, and R&D in Bangladesh. Dr. Binh Melinda, Senior Scientist, WorldFish Bangladesh, and I have prepared this presentation for you. WorldFish is a leading international scientific research organization focused specifically on fisheries and aquaculture in developing economies. It has 40 years track record of delivering research innovation, its multidisciplinary approaches, unique program integration, and commitment to partnerships to achieve impact at scale. WorldFish catalyzes changes for millions who depend on fish for food, nutrition, and income. WorldFish work based on 3 flagship areas. Sustainable aquaculture is one of them. It includes the following 3 clusters: fish breeds, genetics, fish health, nutrition and feeds, and aquaculture systems. WorldFish started to work in Bangladesh in 1989, currently implementing several projects, donor-funded projects. Some of the projects like Bangladesh aquaculture activities funded by USAID, BMFG funded IDEA project, Susuna programs funded by EU and FCDO, and Fish CRP funded by CGIR are directly involved with aquaculture. It has country office at Dhaka, the capital city of Bangladesh, and has some hub offices in different regions and districts of Bangladesh. As per statistics of Department of Fisheries Bangladesh, the production of fish has increased about 6 times over the last 37 years. And the increasing rate of aquaculture and culture fisheries, it is 3.83%, where the capture fisheries, it is around 1% over the last 3.5 decades. Household consumption of fish conducted in 2010 that reveals that consumption from capture fisheries that was declining, and at the same time the consumption from aquaculture that was increasing. The trend still it is remaining the same. All peoples, they are consuming more cultured fish and compared to capture fisheries. In Bangladesh, carps are cultured in 3 different systems. One is pond, secondly it is in seasonal water bodies, and thirdly it is with shrimp and prawn culture systems. Pond is the major resources. We have around 2.5 million ponds in Bangladesh, area covering 404,000 hectares, contributing 45% of total production, which is 70% 79% of total Indian close water body production. Contribution of carp in ground production, it is 56%, where out of this 56%, 35% is coming from endemic major carps and 18% from exotic carps. Major species used in pond aquaculture, these are endemic carps, among them this ruhu, katla, mrigal, and kalibasu. And from the exotic, these are silver carps, big head carp, common carp, grass carp, and black carp. Carp mostly cultured in improved, extensive, and semi-intensive systems. As per Department of Fisheries, they categorize the pond. Those who are producing less than 1.5 metric ton per hectare, these are improved, extensive, and those who are producing 1.5 to 4 metric ton per hectare in a year, these are under semi-intensive systems. There is huge scope to improve this and to increase the productivity by involving more farmers or the capacity building programs, and to provide the technical support through local service providers. The idea project at WorldFish is working to develop the local input sellers as the local service providers for the sustainability of this service. As though this semi-intensive and extensive culture which ponds are water bodies covering almost 68%, but the contribution in production only 45%. So this is the area to improve. In northwest region of Bangladesh, in some district of Rajshahi division, they are practicing intensive systems. Where the stocking rate is very low, they are stocking only 2,500 to 3,500 annual per hectare, and where ruhu is the great contributor, it is 50 to 60%, followed by mrigal, common carp, and silver carp. They are stocking some katla also. The stocking size is larger than compared to other systems. There are stocking sizes above 300 grams. Sometimes it is close to 1 kilo size. And they are culturing for 8 to 10 months in their pond. And they are using the commercial feed as well as they are doing the regular fertilization to ensure the primary productivity of the pond. And the practicing of the harvesting, it is sometimes it is single or multiple harvesting, depends on the stocking size, market demand, harvestable size of fish, and the stocking density also. The harvested size of fish, it is 2 to 3 kg per fish, and production ranges from 7 to 8 metric ton per hectare per year. But there are some challenges also, as there is high investment and high rent of ponds. So water body, presently the rent rate per hectare per year is above $3,000 US. It is extremely high. And there is limited source of water. Mainly we are using the underground water for refilling the ponds where water is needed. It needs a strong R&D for the sustainability of this to see what is happening there. And seasonal culture water bodies also there. After pond, this includes floodplain, rice fields, boro pits, which area is covering 150,000 hectares. And contribution to total production, it is 5.02%, where the total of Indian culture water bodies, which is coming from the seasonal water bodies, it is 8.74%. Major contribution from carp in seasonal water bodies, 82%, where the endemic carps are contributing 45% and exotic 31.47%. WorldFish also work to promote the production of indigenous species with carp in seasonal water bodies. Carp also produced in the shrimp and prawn farming. Shrimp and freshwater prawn, they are stocking carp at a very low rate, and they usually stock the larger size fingerling. In marine shrimp, Also, the marine shrimp system is that they harvest one crop from marine shrimp. After that, when in wet season, the salinity drop down, they stop freshwater prawn and also carps in the pond. In this culture system, the contribution of shrimp and prawn it is 45%, and from finfish it is 55%. Out of this 55%, carp is contributing 27%. This system, this carp, prawn, and shrimp production system is increasing day by day, and the integration of vegetable on dikes, that is dike cropping, is as a part of R&D of WorldFish and other organizations. Now the seed production. In the hatcheries, there's stocked brood fish in ponds. We have more than 1,000 hatcheries in Bangladesh. These are small, medium, or large hatcheries. Some are producing only carp, and some are carp, tilapia, catfish, and others in their ponds. They have the lack of awareness about the improved quality of broodstock and sources of brood, and there is knowledge gap about the overall management of the hatcheries. So IDEA project is working with the hatcheries as local service providers and providing them the support through training and other support with an objective that they will be providing the extending the support to farmers, those who are producing fish in their pond. 960 private hatcheries in Bangladesh, they are producing 648 100,000 kg of spawn, which is 97.3% of total production. And government hatcheries at only 103, they are contributing 2.31%. Some of the nursery operators that are producing fingerling, they are collecting spawn from river also. This is only 3.39%. The 1 kg spawn, it contains about 400,000 hatchling of 4 to 5 days old. And the hatcheries, they are producing mainly rohu, katla, mrigal, silver carp, grass carp, big head, black carp, common carp, and minor carps. There is rapid growth of a number of hatcheries, and they have also increased the productivity of their operation. Quality improvement of system, the using of solar energies, biofilter, areas, and biosecurity is important to promote in the hatchery industry. Broodstock, the hatchery operators, they are using broodstock from different sources. Some are rearing their own brood in their pond from their own spawn. Some are collecting from wild sources like rivers, and some broodstock are collected also from the grow-out farmers. And sometimes the hatchery operators, the hatchery owners, they are exchanging broods among themselves. There are some constraints also: lack of skilled manpower for hatchery operation, limited pond space, infrastructure, and poor management of broodstock. These are the areas to improve. The nursery, those who are collecting spawn from the hatcheries and producing fingerling, fry, fingerling, and juveniles, they are using the pond as nursery. As nursery operation, usually they dry out in the pond or to eradicate all the periodic fishes from there before stocking, go for liming, fertilization to ensure the production of planktons for as a natural food of fry. Nowadays, there is trends to grow larger size fingerlings, as because it has different advantages. Farmer can easily use their seasonal water bodies to grow table fish in their pond, and its growth rate is higher than the fingerling, and they can produce table size fish within a short period of time. There is lower mortality in case of the larger size fingerling also. Large number of ponds are being used for this nursery, and nursery production is more profitable than grow-out practice, and it has quick return and have year-round business also. As the farmers, they are going for multiple harvesting and restocking in the pond, so there is demand around the year for fingerling, especially for the larger size fingerling. Rice field also used to produce fingerling in some areas, especially the northern part of Bangladesh. And rice field, these are lowland or highland, is water fed or rain-fed or the irrigated water bodies. They're stocked with the fish with paddy. There is dishes. They keep the fry there, and they harvest mostly the fingerling before planting rice in wet season, and they go for feeding and fertilization also regularly, and they stock up to 16 species, not all together in the same pond, and mainly carps, catfish, and tilapia. Based on this production system, the market of fingerling has been developed, and it created a lot of employment opportunities in the particular areas. Harvesting method, they follow different type of harvesting. Some are going for partial harvesting without restocking. Some are multiple harvesting and restocking. Some are going for single harvest at the end of the production cycle. The harvesting method, whether they will go for partial or multiple harvesting and restocking, depends on the stocking size of fingerling, stocking density, market demand, and size of produced fish also. As the fish production is increasing in Bangladesh, based on that, the market of wholesale market and retail market also develop in the local areas. And as the present trend is to bring the live fish in the market, there is high demand of live fish, and the price also higher than the dead fish in the market. So the farmers, especially the commercial farmer, those who are producing larger fish, they are bringing live fish in the market. There is some facilities to be improved in the marketplace, like infrastructure, water supply, and hygiene. In Bangladesh, as I mentioned, that they are stocking the higher number of ruhu in their pond, because the demand and market price among the carps, ruhu is the highest. If the ruhu is above 3 kilo per animal, its market price, consumer is paying more than $4 per kilo. It's the highest one. Then it is followed by katla, then mrigel, then coming silver carp, big head, and grass carp, the lowest ones, cheapest one in the market. So WorldFish Carp Genetic Improvement Program works on priority species for genetic improvement. Presently, under CGIP program, we are working with 3 species, that is ruhu, katla, and silver. Ruhu founder of ruhu and katla collected from Bangladeshi rivers in 2012. Then silver carp were collected from Bangladesh different hatcheries in 2014. And in 2014, ruhu base population spawned, and 2017 silver carp and katla base population spawned. Vision of the CSAP is to integrated genomic improvement program for species utilized in polyculture systems, define further breeding objective in relation to market demand, that is flesh quality, FCR, disease and resilience, develop genomic tools to underpin the genomic selection and new spread, intensification of polyculture systems, including feed and technology, and develop and share CGIP product in other markets, that is in Myanmar, Pakistan, and Nepal. We have the dissemination schedule in Bangladesh. So ruhu already released to the partner, disseminating partner in 2021, and silver will be released to dissemination partner in 22 and level 2, and katla level 1 will be disseminated to dissemination partner in 2022 and 23, and so on. Then the dissemination partner will release this improved ruhu, katla, and silver carp to farmers. The ruhu is going to be released in 22 coming year, and 23 level 3, and silver carp level 2 in 2023 and 2024, and katla level 1 in the year 2024, 2025, and 2026. It is anticipated that at per level, the improvement in growth will be around 10%. Development quality seed and feed, it is ongoing research activities as genetically improved carp has been developed and released. And formal trial, its on-farm trial is underway with the farmers to see what happens under the real world. And fish seed and nutrition research in collaboration with Wageningen University and DHUS are underway in Kelowna University for determining the digestibility of low-cost ingredient and energy utilization in carp for developing cost-effective feed, and for development of a feeding strategy in carp tilapia polyculture to optimize the growth of all species. A countrywide polyculture system characterization is underway to study the diversity of polyculture systems for providing an opportunity to develop best management practices to feed them all. That's all from my end, and thank you all for your patience sharing.
Thank you very much, Zahangir. That was a nice summary presentation. Thank you so much. So we'll save the questions to the end of the webinar. So now it's my great pleasure to introduce Dr. Vo van Binh, who is the Director of the National Seed Centre of Freshwater Aquaculture, part of RIA number 3. So Dr. Binh, if you'd like to share your screen, that would be fantastic. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Colin. Thank you for giving me a chance to present some information on carp farming in Vietnam. How can I? Okay. In my presentation, I would like to give you some information on aquaculture in Vietnam in general. Carp farming, seed production of carp, feed and disease research and development, as well as challenges of carp farming. Now, aquaculture in Vietnam in general, we have a total production of 4.6 million tons, in which we have freshwater fish, mainly fish for 1.1 million tons, shrimp nearly 1 million, and pangasius, a very famous freshwater species, with 1.6 million tons. In Vietnam, we have some group of species give priority from government. So we have all marine species, practice shrimp, tilapia, and pangasius are well supported by government. For freshwater aquaculture, there are some characteristics. Carp are dominated species, and then we have catfish and native species. And freshwater aquaculture usually use formulated feed, not as marine species. We use catfish. And we almost succeed in all species with artificial reproduction. And freshwater is mainly in ponds and in cages and very high intensive culture. For carp farming, I would like to say the species culture system, feed, disease, and productivity. First group is Chinese carp. We have common carp. We have grass carp, black carp, silver carp. In fact, the common carp is we use hybrid strain. So it's combined from Hungarian, Indonesia, and Vietnamese strains. So these carp are very good in growth rate, and good in tolerance with disease. So carp, common carp is very common species currently. Another group of carp species are in the Indian carp, major carps. We have two species, is Rohu and Merigan. So these two species was introduced to Vietnam in 2018, and now we are well successfully artificial breeding, and also we have a very good technique for these two species. For culture system, carp is culture in cage, in pond, and in raceway pond. And cage usually in the units of 100 and 150 cubic meter. And pond in Vietnam, it's vary from say 100 to hectare, but usually farmer use the pond size of 2,000 to 3,000 square meter. And then this type of culture system are supported by aerators, usually bubble or pattern aerator. For growouts in Vietnam, we have two systems, two level of culture. We use monoculture, usually for cage, and raceway culture. And with this way of culture, we use high stocking density with 9 to 50 fish per cubic meter, and this needs high inputs. And then another culture is polyculture, usually for ponds and in cages. And for this, we use less stocking density, 1 to 1.5 fish per square meter. And it is lower input. And stock species composition as varies among the place, pond situation. But here I would like to give you some typical composition. For example, Rohu and Merigan. It's a dominated species, and then occupy to 65 to 70%. And the other carps occupy, say, 5%. And another common composition is tilapia, is a dominated species, contribute to 65% in the pond. And then common carps. The productivity is usually in case we have a productivity of 20 to 70 kilogram per cubic meter, and average is about 35 kilogram per cubic meter. Grass carp is higher productivity. Can reach to 90 kilogram per cubic meter. On the other hand, Rohu and Merigan is slower, say 25 to 60 kilogram per cubic meter. In pond, the productivity also varies between farm and farm. And between because it's depend much on the input of the farm. So let's say 6 to 20 tons per hectare per group. That is common at 12 tons per hectare per group. Now the fish size for markets usually 1 to 3 kilogram for common carp, and this can reach to this size from 6 to 8 months. Grass carp, the market require bigger fish, so up to 7 kilograms per fish, and because it's larger size, it needs a longer counter, up to 18 months. Rohu, rohu is smaller. Let's say 0.8 to 2.5 kilogram per fish, and because small size, and it's around 5 to 7 months to reach this size. And in Vietnam, we usually sell the fish in farm base with price of 2.5 USD per kilogram for common carps, and grass carp is more expensive because, you know, as I said, it's a larger size at the market for 3 USD per kilogram, and black carp for 4 to 5 USD per kilogram. Rohu, Marigan, and silver carp is cheap. People may not like this species. Only 1.5 to 2 USD per kilograms. So we like the live fish in the market. So that fish is not, you know, preferred, and it's reduced price 10 to 30%, and we don't prefer frozen fish. For trading system, farmer usually sell the fish to the middleman, or wholesalers. So we have something like a wholesale markets, and then from that market, the fish is delivered to the local markets. So that is the way of trading fish. Usually, because we require live fish in the markets, then the fish usually trading at a nice time. For seed production, this is not as a secret technology, but every single and simple step have to be carefully taken in order to succeed seed production. So, for example, from selection broodstock, it's very important. Pond preparation for broodstock also very important. So, for example, here, common carp and Indian carps, we have to consider for 2 important things: is size of the fish and the age of the fish. The size of the fish for Indian carps and common carp is usually 2 kilograms, with the age of 3 to 8 years, and optimum for reproduction is 2.2 and 6 years. For grass carp and black carps, it needs bigger size and also older. So the hint here is try to keep fish older but at smaller size. This can have a productive later. And if the fish get disease before and during pre-mature culture, the matter of the fish would not be completely later on, and then the fish produce less, larvae. So for pond preparation, it's also important thing, as I have said. Try to keep the pond dry for 7 to 10 days, and then apply lime with dose of 150 kilogram per hectare. It depends on how pH of the pond. And you're going to have to be screened to limit small fish get in. For broodstock management, to have a good result after later, we use a PTAC for identify the broodstock in different group. This to limit inbreed when we have artificial breeding. So try to put try to stock less density, say 1 feet for 2 square meter or less. And for Indian carps and Chinese carp, female and male can stock together. But with common carp, we have to separate female and male. For pre-mature culture, usually mature culture takes 4 months, and in 2 periods. First, for 3 first months, is intensive feeding for 4 to 5% of body weight daily. And the last 1 month is feeding less, but it needs to supplement it with vitamin E and D for this period. This is a very important thing for productive fish later. And also use water exchange 30 to 40% every week. And try to pump the water as artificial rain. Remember that you need to use high protein and lipid feed. Let's say more than 38% crude protein, and also 8 to 12 to 11 crude fat. And the pond could be applied probiotic to increase the fish and then support for digestion and water pollution. To prepare for artificial breeding, you have to select mature female at some important signal. First is feed to the season, so have to feed it. Usually in Vietnam we have the breeding season at upfront, and full abdomen, full and separate eggs. The mineral versicle have to be migrated to there already. For male, it's easier. Just gently press to abdomen and near to the underfeet. If you get the sperms, then this feed is ready for breeding. To induce fish for reproduction, we usually use different hormones, pituitary and luteinizing hormone, as well as HCG hormone. And luteinizing and HCG are very common. And we use 2 doses, 1/3 for the first and 2/3 for the second dose, the second injection. And then in between, it's usually 6 to 8 hours, and the fish spawn after the second injection at 5 to 8 hours. And this strongly depending on the temperature. And we have 2 ways to get the eggs. We use hand to squeeze for egg and sperm. And in this case, we use dry fertilization methods. And another way is to to have, say, semi-artificial sperm. In this way, the fish is stocked back after the second injection, and then let the fish naturally sperm in tank, and then collect the eggs for incubation. And for common carp, we have to use flatted fibers because the eggs are sticky. For incubation, we use, say, Chinese method and Russian method. For Chinese methods, it needs a large amount of water, and it can produce mass production. This method is usually suitable for flattening eggs. Russian methods is suitable for both sticky and flattening eggs. And in Vietnam, in my place, very common to use this method for common carp. For nursing techniques, as I said, it's not secret, technology, but this have to be carefully taken in single step. So try to keep the pond dry for 7 to 10 days, apply lime and blah. And stocking density is also depend on place to place, and the chemical and everything in pond to decide the proper stocking rate. So here I give just example is say from lava is 300 to 400 per lava per square meter, and when the fish grow up to fry stage, it's reduce stocking density at 2.5 to 3 centimeter with 100 and 150 fry per square meter. For fingerling also reduce up to 40 to 50 fingerling per square meter. Now for feeding, as lava states, we use chicken or duck eggs, and then use formulated feed with crude protein at 40 to 42%. When the fish grow up to fry stage, then formulated feed with less, say 35 to 40%, and up to fingerling stage also reduce the feed quality. So let's say 30 to 35% of crude protein. And for feeding frequency, so 4 times a day should be used for larva stage, and then for fries 3 times, and 2 times for fingerling stage. And for grow out, usually we use one times daily. And feeding rates, as it's when the fish small at larva, we use 20 to 25% of body weight daily. Of course, the larva cannot eat all this feed, but the remain feed is very important thing for natural food. So we have to create a good natural food in pond in order to increase survival rates. So at this stage, if we can get 70% of survival rates, then it's succeed. Also, we in Vietnam we use green water techniques. So this is very important at lava to fingerling stage. So to have green water techniques, we increase the natural foods for small fish. And then formulated fish should be applied properly, formulation at different stages. As I have said, high protein and high lipids should be used when the fish is small. And we should use, we should apply together green water techniques, and for using this technique can reduce FCR and also limit disease outbreak. And now for disease, we have plenty of disease. It's a big problem. But here I just mentioned some very common disease. Is hemorrhagic disease in common carp and grass carp. So it's mainly causing from spring virus and reovirus. This usually happen during the temperature change. So the shift between spring to summer and from fall to winter. And for this, because it's no way to kill the fish, then when we just only applies lower density, aeration, water exchange, and reduce feed. And for fry and fingerling, we have common with parasite, fungi, and bacteria. And this try to keep the fish not get the disease outbreaks by apply iodine or BKC or probiotics in pond periodically to limit the disease happen. Now for research and development, usually if we have advanced or upgrade technology or introduce new species or extension activity, is undertaken by research institute. In Vietnam, we have 3 research institutes for aquaculture. We have national centers and university and also provincial extension agents. So all these new technology are first through these agencies and then to the farmers. Now, I would like to introduce a little bit to my center, because it's we do R&D, and we respond for responsibility for broodstock management and development. We do own reproduction activity as well as seed production as nursing rollout techniques. So we also do not much, but for feed formulation and extension activities. So we carry out many projects, including a national program for conservation and seeds development, and projects for all freshwater species in Vietnam. So because our center is just developed and do everything for freshwater in those parts. So everything related to freshwater is our responsibility. Now we have some challenges with carp farming. Here I put say overproduction because we do well with reproduction. Artificial reproduction, and we have very good technology for growers, so we can get production easily. And now we have more supply and demand. And then because of overproduction, we don't get the priority from government and low market price. And another problem, we get reduce proper culture areas. So this leads to increase production price. And pollution, that is a very, common now, not only in Vietnam, but I think it's in other countries. That is challenge for carp farming recently. So that is some very brief information just to give to you, because we have limited time. So I expect to have some comment from you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Van. That was very interesting, very detailed. Thank you so much for that. So before I sort of throw it open to others for more questions, I might just look at some of the questions from the chat box and see if we can respond to that. So Chris Price from Bangladesh is asking how much work has been done on the economics of intensifying carp production. So I was wondering, Dr. Van, you're obviously using these very intensive systems, the raceways and the cages. What do the economics look like for those, those intense farming operations compared to sort of, the extensive pond systems? Is it much more efficient?
I mean, that's the input for raceway.
Yeah, I think the question from Chris was looking at the economics of intensification, because I think in Bangladesh, I think, we don't produce at the high levels that you do. So we're thinking, what are the economics of having these very intense systems? Are they very good?
I would give this. It requires high input because it needs, energy for running the machine for create aerator. So if you stop high density and good values of fish, then it's good economic return. In Vietnam, people usually do it at fingerling stage. So from fry to fingerling, usually use raceway. It's easy to handle. It can increase density and so on. And then it's also require short period of time. If we use cheap fish and for growers, and I don't think it's economic.
Right. No, thanks very much. I was wondering, in terms of your center and the program in Vietnam, has there been much work done on genetic improvement? Because that's one of the things that we're working on, with 3 species in Bangladesh, the rohu, catler, and silver carp. Is your organization actively involved with that, or has it done in the past?
We done it in the past, a lot of genetic selection, and recently we are doing with common carp, mainly activity for common carp. Mr. Chern is running a project getting a carp from Hungary. And then we have a mass selection and family selection. And as I said, we have very good, hybrid species. So this more detail I will give the person to say genetic selection for carp. But we don't have genetic selection for say silver carp. Silver carp we just try to keep the original species, original strain.
Right.
Because we have something like the beginning strain. So we try to keep that in we have a conservation program and keep years to year, and then whenever we have a program, and then we take just for selection.
Right. Thanks. Let's see. So I'm not so familiar with this. If anyone else has got any other questions they'd like to ask, I'm just trying to say, if you can, Sean, if you can help me out here, can people put their hands up here so we can see who's got questions?
Yes, they can click on the reactions there, and then they can raise their hands.
Okay, so if you've got a question, anybody, just click on the reactions, and we can do that. With the extension service, Dr. Vo, is that provided by the government or is it done by the private sector in your country?
Extension before is almost completely from government, but recently we have from both government and private, whenever it needs, or if they have something need to improve techniques or whatever, they may ask us for doing the extension. Or even now we have to find someone. We have, for example, we have a new technique. We have to bring it to a farmer. So we have to try to find any potential place that could be success. Then we will introduce the technique to them. And then if they find easy potential, they pay money for that. That's
right.
So both private and
Sure. One practical question I had for you. I have almost no experience with carp. I have a little with other fish. Do you use anesthetics when you are handling your broodstock, or do you just handle them, without anesthetic in the hatchery when you're breeding them?
Sorry, I can't get.
Sorry. When you are handling your broodstock, and examining them, do you anesthetize them, give them chemical to knock them out, or not?
Depend on species to species.
Right.
Common carp, we don't use anesthetize. But for example, broodstock for fish. We have native species, some native species of Paramuni, for example. We have to use.
Yes. Sure.
Yes, at farm level, it's very rare to use antinizers.
Right. Okay. And from you've given a very good summary of what's happened in the past, and you're saying it's not really a priority of the Vietnamese government, moving forward. What do you think your center will be doing with carp, in the next few years? Very little, or do you think there'll be some activity in your center?
In those past, we have very common carp, and now we get very good, so let's say genetic strain. So that we still develop the common carp, by selling to farmer the broodstock, and also for seed production. So still very potential for common carp. And the other carp is we get not much, but little support from government that try to keep the original the beginning strains, the broodstock. So that is also some not mass requirement from the industry. So that thing also is for the future. But we have to start shipping to another species. For example, catfish is we have to develop a catfish in the north part. In south part we have pangasius, but in those parts we use it's a Chinese catfish that's from America. Grow very fast, and then it's tolerant to the winter temperature. Right. So we also have to, we have to vary production. Vary production by different species, different different products. Yes.
Yeah. I'm doing lots of talking here. I should really try and get more people involved in the discussion. Zahangir, if you'd like to switch on your microphone, I'd be interested to hear your initial thoughts on the presentation from Vietnam and any interesting things, any questions you have for Dr. Van.
I'm curious that in Bangladesh, people use, as I heard that from presentation that you use, brackish water, not totally 100% of fresh water. So any, effect by salinity to the fish or not?
Okay, thank you. That is where they are producing the marine shrimp. It is alternate cropping system, not is either. In its farm, it is not suitable. So when the salinity drop down to 0 in the wet season, after harvesting the marine shrimp, they are stocking freshwater prawn with carp. It is alternate cropping. At that time, in the wet season, the salinity of that particular water, but it's not everywhere. In some areas, is dropped down to 0. So it is one crop from a marine shrimp. After that, in the wet season, they are growing freshwater prawn.
And what is prawn? You use macro or what?
Macrobrachium. Macrobrachium.
Okay. And then you counter together macrobrachium with fish or what?
Yes, macrobrachium with fish, with carps, yes.
How is the ratio? How is the composition?
Composition, usually their stocking density is very low for macrobrachium per square meter is 1 to 2 juvenile when they stock. And also the stocking density of carp, mainly actually as they are using feed quality, it produces a lot of phytoplankton to control the phytoplankton and zooplankton. They are stocking carps like silver carp, katla. Some of them are stocked ruhu also at very low density, and they are getting this carp as you can say it is byproduct. They are not using feed for the carps, but it is natural, dependent on natural food.
So what is the main production in this case? From or fish?
It is fish 55% and 45% from prawn. almost 55% of total production.
So another question is, what about your common carp in Bangladesh? Is people prefer common carp or just only Indian carps?
It is common carp also, Indian major carp with common carp also. Common carp, price of common carp is no higher than the grass carp and silver carp also. So if it is more than 2 kilo per animal weight, price is good, better than grass carp and black carp. We prepare the common carp, yes.
And then people use formulated feed or just natural food?
Okay, good question. So for intensification, in intensive culture, commercial culture, all of them are using commercial feed. But for the smallholder, those are producing less, below 4 kilo, 4 metric ton per hectare. They are using, dependent on fertilization, it's natural food, as well as they are using homemade food. Mainly it is mustard oil cake, combination of mustard oil cake and rice bran.
And then one more question is for compound feed is domestic feed or is import from other country or what?
Domestic. We have domestic and some foreign companies, they are producing feed in Bangladesh. It's feed. But price of feed, I don't know the price of feed in Vietnam, but in Bangladesh, it is usually the sinking feed price is about $0.45 US, and for floating feed, it is about $0.6 US.
Per kg.
So if you consider that only, if you calculate the ingredient cost, so accounts for 60 to 70% of total cost, input cost. Smallholder farmers, we are for the semi-intensive, they can grow to depend on the natural food and to provide some supplementary feed to supplement the natural food. But I have one question to you. As you already mentioned, that prevention, yes, we are recommending that one also to reduce the stocking density, stock biomass, and if possible to go for exchange of water and to reduce the feed. If disease outbreaks, what type of eco-medicinal product do you suggest or advise them to use? In our country, in our farmer from WorldFish, we always recommending the farmer, prevention is better than cure, and prevention is the best medicine for fish. We are advocating this, but what type of eco-medicinal product do you use in pond?
Okay, one last question. Maybe give to another people have a chance to ask. I see your productivity is lower than things happen in Vietnam. Any comment for that?
Productivity, yes. In some cases, yes, productivity is less because very few of our farmers, they have this less scope for water exchange, and most of them are not using aerator in the pond. It is due to scarcity of electricity and to get the connection for electricity, and it is expensive to go for water exchange because they have to pump out and pump in water. It is expensive.
Okay, I'm going to give other people this. I think they have.
Just Dr. Van, I think Zahangir was trying to ask you, in the ponds, what is the most common type of medication that you use? You know, when your carp gets sick in the ponds, what is the common medications, medicines?
We have plenty of chemicals for that. But usually we don't use the medicine when the fish already strongly affected by disease.
Right.
So we try to keep it before things happen by, apply, as I said, some, clean, let's say, clean water chemical. Iodine is also popular, and BKC is a popular one. And sometimes when we have it's expensive fish, we may use medicine for human. That is not we here we have rootstock that's a good state. Then we try to kill the fish, and we use medicine human, and it depends on which disease it has. About antibiotics for bacteria.
Yeah, sure,
yes,
sure.
It's very not very common. But
yeah, I heard that you mentioned probiotics a couple of times, and so
yeah.
I know from my other work in Vietnam, there's a lot of use of probiotics in many sectors. So could you explain a little bit more about how you use probiotics in carp culture, please?
This is during the preparation of the pond. After dry the pond, we have different types of probiotics, but popular is lactobacillus, lactobacillus, and substitutes. I couldn't remember.
Yep.
That's very popular. We also have another strains of the bacteria, but then this when you use dry the ponds and take let's say 20 to 30 centimeters of water, and then apply that probiotics to the pond. Yes, that's it's an important step during preparation of the pond. And during culture, we also apply probiotics. So just put the probiotic in water and then deliver into the pond. And another type of probiotic is applied together with the feed. So the probiotic is mixed with the fish, usually together with oil and for fish. So that is limit or reduce the disease outbreak. That's what I mean in my presentation.
Right. Thanks. I can see Matt is on the line, our geneticist. Matt, do you have any questions or queries or just thoughts on the presentation today?
I don't have any specific questions. I guess I was interested in the greater intensification of things in Vietnam, far greater, and the differences in the price points and the different preferences for the different species. But in terms of specific questions, I don't have many. I guess we haven't spoken much about breeding programs as such in Vietnam. We've talked about practices in hatcheries and the like, but not so much about the genetic side of things. So that would be a general question to ask: to what extent are there formal breeding programs in well, I guess we're most interested in rohu, catla, and silver carp, but any of the species, do you have formal family-based breeding programs going on, or is it more about broodstock management and managing inbreeding? That's a complex question, isn't it?
Yes, we still have.
Do you have family-based breeding programs in these species?
Yes, we currently doing with genetic program for common carp. So
Common carp, yeah.
Yeah, we have different strains and then hybrid between those strains and take female and male. Different way of hybrids. Male of this strain made to female Nigertine, and then again female of this strain to male Nigertines. And then for common carp, we have more than 6 to 7 generations. 6 to 7, yes, 6 to 7 generations. So the fish could be half blood from Hungary, maybe only 25% of blood from the Hungarian strain. So because of different way, then we have different products. So which one is the best growth rates and disease tolerance is selected. So for carp is the common carp is very it's currently doing in Vietnam. But the other we only have a conservation program. So try to keep good one.
Đây là cái long term.
Yeah.
So that makes sense. Program, yes.
Go ahead.
Thank you. No, I'm just saying that makes sense. That's it's more about ensuring you're keeping inbreeding under control in the other species rather than having a large family-based breeding program.
Yeah. A question about your silver carp, Dr. Van. Obviously that is one of the species we're working with, and my understanding is it's quite difficult to get what's called like a pure strain of silver carp from China because most of them were mixed with big head. Were you saying that you still have quite clean silver carp broodstock available to you?
Yes, we are doing this. So we we have a group, so a cohort of silver carp imports for a long time to 1948, 1942.
Right.
And we try to keep that state up to now by, hybrid amount of individuals in the cohort. So that it's almost a pure stain, but I'm sure that it's not really good. But at least we keep the original stain.
I think, yeah. Matt, would that be of potential interest to you and your silver carp program, getting some of those stock?
Potentially, yes. Yeah, potentially. Yeah, we're interested in just increasing the diversity of our population in and of itself would be good, but
right.
if it's of pure origins, as they say, then yes, that's also of further interest.
Okay. All right. I see Professor Wahab is on the line. Professor, with your experience, what was been your take on the webinar today, and any questions or observations on the differences between Bangladesh and Vietnam?
I missed the presentation part, so rather I'm shy to ask anything, but I'd be interested to know the depth of the pond in Vietnam. Maybe Bangladeshi pond is shallower, so it's difficult to increase the stock of fish. In Vietnam, possibly opposite. If we could know that, that would have been nice. And Bangladesh imported some pure juvenile of silver carp, I think last year, and we can explore that one. And the best way of doing that the silver carp alimentary system, that is the intestine, is too long. I think about 12 to 13 times of the body size, and the big head carp is smaller because of the nature of food. So whether they have been already contaminated by intermixing or still separate, we can find it out. So I'm rather interested to know the depth of the average depth of the Vietnamese carp pond. That may be a lesson for Bangladeshi ponds, because Bangladeshi ponds usually were the borrow pits, where the people collected the soil for making the basement of the house above the flood level. And that eventually, that pit has been converted into fish pond. It's a natural thing in the country. That's why it's not too deep. So I'll be interested to know the depth of the ponds.
Right.
Thank you, Colin.
Dr. Van, what is the average depth of ponds in Vietnam for the carp farming?
What is
depth? How deep are the ponds?
Deep. How deep is the pond?
Okay.
How deep?
Varies among place to place. So for fry and fingerlings, usually less than 1 meter depth. But for growers, it's minimum is 1.2 meters, and then up to 4 meters. So it's very deep. But to reap to fish safely, it should be 2.5 to 3. It's a very safe for grow-out pond.
That is a lesson the Bangladeshi scientists, extension agencies, after Zahangir and his team can take the note that the Bangladeshi ponds are not deep enough. Only few perennial ponds are a little bit deeper, but most ponds are above, not above 1.5 meter. So it's a lesson from Vietnam that Bangladeshi pond should be above 2, so that it can be a safer environment for the carp. Thank you, Colin. That was the only question from me.
Okay, thanks, Professor. Thank you. Yes, then I can see you're on the call today. What were your what did you find from the discussion today? What was interesting for you?
Thank you, Colin. Yep, that was a very good discussion between Bangladesh and Vietnam. I enjoyed a lot, and especially your question answer session that you led is excellent. Thank you very much. I don't have any specific question to both of the presenters, but I'm quite interested. I do have some interest to know what actually led you to organize this kind of webinar between Bangladesh and Vietnam, Colin.
Okay, well, I guess I've been engaged with aquaculture in Vietnam for the last 20 years in mainly with mud crab aquaculture, and I know Vietnamese are very innovative and real leaders in Southeast Asia in the aquaculture sector. And I was just and I was speaking to one of my colleagues, one of my ex-PhD students in Vietnam about carp, and they put me on to RIA #1 and Dr. Van and his team there. So yeah, it was just sort of came from that. And also, you know, I think always we should be looking to improve our techniques, technology, and you know, sort of sharing information between countries is one very useful way to do that. So yeah, that's it really.
Yep, that's good. Thank you very much. Yeah, so you had some familiarity. Yep, that's good.
Yeah, okay. Well, look, our hour and a half is up. Just quickly, Dr. Van, do any of your other staff on the call there have any questions to put to the Bangladesh team today?
Có question gì không?
No more?
No more. Yes, the thing is, so we have to go to I never been in Bangladesh.
That's right. Yes. Well, maybe that's the next step. Look, thank you so much to you and your team behind you today, and thank you very much to Zahangir and Binoy who put our presentation together, and everybody attending today. So we'll share the recording with you if you want to share it with any of your staff who weren't able to make it today, and we'll do the same here. And I think we'll organize a follow-up discussion in the near future, just to try and identify some areas that may be of interest for future collaboration. So thank you very much, and good afternoon to you all. Okay, bye-bye.